Right guys, I'm Dave Wade. I'm the Health and Safety Advisor for Millfield School and the Prep School. So we've got roughly around about 1,400 children and 700 staff over a 200 acreage campus. Okay, so it's a really diverse area. And one of the things we need to do is give you an induction onto it, because there are a few hazards that you need to be aware of. The aim of the lesson or the presentation is to inform you of the main health and safety issues within Millfield MPS so that you have the appropriate knowledge to conduct yourself in a safe manner on and off the estate. Okay? Reason why? So they have the appropriate knowledge to ensure that you and those around you work and live in a safe environment, thus preventing the possible loss of life and injury and reputation to the Millfield brand. Obviously, we want everybody to go home safe. If we don't, and people do get injured, well, obviously there's repercussions to that. So the format is, as you can see, fire all the way through to well-being. Things that you have to be aware of. These are the three main areas that you have to be aware of, okay? Looking after yourself, your own health and safety, and the welfare of that of others that you may affect by your acts or omissions. So you need to look after yourself and those around you. So what you do and what you don't do. So if you don't adhere to a risk assessment, that's an omission. Familiarise yourself and following agreed health and safety policies and procedures. We've got loads of policies and procedures. Ensuring that pupils are aware and follow health and safety practices and procedures. These guys, they're a lot less mature than you people, therefore they do understand risk as well. Doing that, if you see them doing something, you need to step in, okay, because you're the adult. How it's made up, what we've got at the bottom is the pupils, and we want them to look after themselves. That's all we're looking after, and hopefully they look after each other. We have the staff here, and they provide a good example to obviously the pupils and other members of staff. As we move up, we have the safety representatives, tutors and supervisors, and they're there to promote and be aware and promote health and safety arrangements that affect them within their role. We then have the heads of departments, and they need to be aware of the health and safety, how it affects the people underneath them and their department as well. We have the senior management team, and they're ensuring the health and safety policy is an integral part of the policies and the makeup of Millfield itself. Where I sit with the Health and Safety Committee, and I sit as a Health and Safety Advisor obviously, and we promote and maintain and monitor health and safety on the sites, the both of them. And overall reporting responsibilities to health and safety well-being goes to the headmaster, bursar, headmistress and the governors. Who goes to jail? Anybody? Yeah, who would go to jail? If we have an accident, somebody has a death on this campus, who would go to jail?
Everyone. Anyone.
Anybody could. Not the students, we'll take them out of the equation. But anybody here, if they fail to do something, remember the acts of omissions that we were talking about before? So, a few years ago, it used to be the CEOs, the headmasters, they're the people who used to go to jail. All right, because the book stopped with them. That no longer exists. So if you don't do something, and you shouldn't be doing it, and you're not following the process, you could find yourself under the health and safety executive spotlight. All right, and you will be spoke to under caution. All right, the health and safety executive have more powers than the police. They can come in and take anything. So if they want to come in and take your diary that you've been writing in your workplace diary, they can take that. They take photographic evidence, they can take pieces of equipment, whatever they want, and they can come in any time and any point of the night or day. So they've got more powers than the police. So how do we manage health and safety and well-being? So we have a health and safety welcome pack, which you should have in front of you. We have responsibilities, so when you get to your departments, you might be given responsibilities. We have a staff extranet. On the staff extranet, we'll have the procedures, guidance, checklist forms, and so forth. And we also have a department induction form, which all your departments should be doing. So once you go to your department, your head of department should be giving you that induction. He should show you where the fire extinguishers are. He should show you where the welfare facilities are. We're now moving on to fire. Fire is obviously one of the biggest threats to the school. We've had a few fires on the school. We've had a few issues. We've had near misses. So, three things we need a fire to exist. It's fuel, oxygen and heat. Without one of those, a fire won't happen. All right, so if we take one away, there's not going to be a fire. And that's known as a fire triangle. So, what we need, fuel. So what sort of things can we think of fuels? Anybody? I've given you the first one. Chemicals, acetone, ether, menthol. Any other fuels you can think of? Petrol. Petrol, yeah. Anything else? Gases? Plastics? Anything that will burn. That's what we're looking at. Cardboard, packaging. You're sitting on stuff already. Wood. Fabrics. So the fabrics of this classroom, so for instance the fire retardant curtains, they will eventually burn. Right? They're fire retardant, but it doesn't mean they're not going to burn. And most of all, importantly, you will burn. So that's fuel. We then go on to oxygen. Now oxygen is a natural component, 21% of the atmosphere is made up of oxygen. Anything in enriched atmospheres is anything above 21%. So can you think of any areas within this school that might have enriched environments of oxygen? Anybody?
Sciences, maybe?
Bang on. Chemistry, yeah. Chemistry, sciences. Situations where it's more difficult to control. You can't control it outdoors. You can't control it in the automatic ventilation systems that are above your head. And open doors and windows. So that's why when we ask you to shut the doors and windows, what we're trying to do is starve that fire of oxygen. So the next one for the fire triangle is heat. So we've got heating appliances, these little babies, which are not allowed on campus. All right. So if you're thinking of bringing one into campus, don't. Right, because I'll just take it. I'll tell you to take it home. All right. Researchers and computer equipment. Yeah, we've got that. Other electrical equipment. So most of you will work with electrical equipment. Smoking materials. At the moment, it's a non-smoking site. All right, so you're not allowed to smoke here. If you're going to ask me where you smoke, any smokers amongst you? Where you're going to smoke, it's going to be 30 metres outside of the campus gates. All right. And contractors' equipment, which is a big one for me. So contractors will work around you all the time. If you find a contractor that you think is, has some dodgy equipment there, please contact me, right? And I'll go around and have a look at it. And the biggest one for us is arson. So from disgruntled pupils to disgruntled members of staff, somebody who just fancies lighting fires. 2015, there was over 5,000 call-outs to schools. All right, 95% of them were arson. So other hazards that we've got. Obviously, hazards from risks of fire, you've got smoke and fumes. So if actually a fire was to occur, you're going to have breathing difficulties, you're going to have asphyxiation, you're going to have poisoning because the chairs that you sat on, the plastic ones, will start giving off that black smoke. Heat and flames up to 1,250 degrees centigrade. The building debris. So in that room that you're in, the building will start melting above your head. So the metal will melt. This stuff above your head, the tiles will start dripping onto you, and masonry will start falling if you stay in long enough. And if you're in such a rush to get out, and it's just, I want to get out, forget everybody else, you're going to get trips, falls, and trampling. So you're going to injure people that way as well. Fire prevention. So how do we prevent fires? First of all, you've got to be safety aware. We're all talking about it now. We control the ignition sources, all right? And we prevent the accumulations of fuels. So all the cardboard that you collect and you think, oh, I'll just stick it by the doorway, that is a fuel source, all right? So if you leave it there and you've got enough of it and somebody comes along, one of the smokers, sticks a fag in, possibility of a fire. And then you've actually blocked off an entrance, an escape route. Only use equipment that is PAT tested. Here we go. PAT testing any good? Everybody know what PAT test is for a start. Portable appliance testing. Right? PAT testing is not law. You don't have to do it. The reason why we do it is because the insurance companies like us to do it. PAT testing is only good as the day it's done. It's done once a year. So what is more important is you guys actually visually checking the equipment under your desk or the equipment that you use. And abide by the school's no smoking policy. So, fire protection. Fire alarm testing. Yes, it is a legal requirement. We must do it by law. The alarm will sound for 15 seconds. Your department should test them weekly. If they're not, please tell me. And there's no action to be taken through the testing of the alarm, obviously. However, if the alarm sounds for greater than 15 seconds, I would start to get a little bit twitchy and think, this could be a real one. It takes 2 minutes what they say is 2 minutes to get out of the building. So, part of the fire prevention, we don't want you to block the exits. We need to know the call points and where their fire extinguishers are. Anybody know where the nearest call point is? Do you know what a call point is? So those little red boxes on the wall. Right, it's usually by an exit. And usually there's a fire extinguisher with it. Don't wedge fire doors open. Why do we not wedge fire doors open? Anybody?
So we get oxygen from escape.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. We want to close it off. Right, so if you stuck a wedge in there, and you just run out, you're giving it all the oxygen we want. Yeah, that's just it. And if you leave the front door open, even more oxygen, and it's just going to fan the flames. Ensure good housekeeping. So all those people who just throw the rubbish out to the side and just leave it everywhere, no. If you leave it in the actual walkways, so if the kids over there, I moved a bag a minute ago and somebody's moved it back, right? So if the walkways, you don't want the bags in the way. So we're talking good housekeeping now. You need a clear route out of the actual building. And we need to maintain effective security. So if you think somebody's dodgy, you probably are dodgy. And ask them the question, why are you here? What are you doing? And report any bad practices to your line manager. So if you see something doing something stupid, right, or using electrical equipment that is obviously US, unserviceable, tell your line manager. So we've done all of that, and now we're going to see a fire. The fires have happened. The first thing we must do is raise the alarm. Right, and we do that by pressing one of those call points or shouting fire, fire, fire. Fire, fire, fire is really good because people start to listen. Those call points go off all the time. Evacuate the building is the next thing you do. So get everybody out and contact the fire officer for the building. The fire officer for the buildings you should know. So when you go into your department, you should be saying, one of the first things you should be asking, who's my fire officer? I need to know who he is, or she. So you see the fire, tell the fire officer where it is, or the fire warden that's there. If there's no one else there, it is down to you to phone the fire service. So if there's smoke coming out the top of the ceiling here, right? Yeah, and you can even if you can't see the fire, right? If it's coming through the ceiling, it could be coming from over there. There's an issue. Just get on the telephone, 999, bang, get them out. Do not be afraid to phone the fire service. These are the call points that you'll see around the school. It's mainly those ones now. The white ones. We have those ones which aren't glass. You just push them and they'll operate. And as I said, verbal shout of fire, fire, fire works every time. So if you hear the alarm, the fire alarm, evacuate the building, carry out your shutdown procedures responsibilities, close all the doors behind you and go to your assembly point. If there's no one else present and the fire alarm has sounded, phone the fire service. So a quick recap. So we need to use the nearest fire exit, right? It might not always be the one you use every day. Make your way to the assembly point. Stay away from the building. You might be asked to actually monitor or be a fire warden to prevent other individuals coming back into the building. So this building here in the dining hall, we've got something like 5 or 6 exits and entry points. So they'll need 5 or 6 people to actually prevent people to coming in. Yeah, the fire extinguisher there assists you evacuating the building. I don't want anybody going in and fighting fires. That's not your job. That's the fire service's job. I don't want you going searching all the classrooms, strapping 6 fire extinguishers to the back, kicking in the doors and trying to fight the fires. That ain't happening. All right? The fire extinguisher there, if the fire's at an exit point where you need to get out of, that's what it's for. To get you out and hopefully get all the rest of the people out behind you. Just point at the base of the fire and hopefully you can get out of that exit. Do not enter the building if fire alarms are sounded. So there's a warning of danger, obviously, but people will try to get in. Fire extinguisher, but this is what we've got. So we've got water. These are the only ones we use. The ones that you probably come across will be the CO2 and the water. So obviously the CO2 is electrical, safe for most fires. Paper, wood, not an electrical. Why don't you use the water one on electrical? Induction. Yeah, so while you're actually putting the fire out on the electrical bit of equipment, the water's pooling around you and you're going to get a nice little jolt there. So we've got solids and liquids, not electrical gases, yeah. And the last one, powder, liquids and gases and electrical. Basically using anything, the powder. Fire extinguisher, anybody see anything wrong with it? It has melted, yeah. This was one we took out of from the library, and it was in the yurt. What they have a yurt, and it's like a reading club in there. And what they do, they put a big wood burner in there. Unfortunately, they put the fire extinguisher right next to the wood burner, and this is the result. How is it going to injure you if you go up to use it? Well, first of all, that is so thin, it's paper thin, that as soon as the pressure would come through, as soon as you're holding that nozzle, you're going to get a bit of a burn there because it's CO2, so it's going to burn you. Okay. And the second thing, it's not going to do a blind bit of difference to the actual the fire. It's going to be infective. So be aware where you're placing your fire extinguishers for events and so forth. So fire grows rapidly, as it says here. It can increase very quickly in the building. Fighting the fire. Does the fire officer know why the alarms have sounded? He needs to know. Do not put the safety and others at risk. Evacuate the building. Yeah? If you have tackled a fire, have you definitely put it out? Can it reignite? Has it entered the roof space? Because if it enters a roof space here, it doesn't mean it's going to stay here. If there's no fire break, so what you've got in the buildings, if you've got one room here, one room there, usually above the ceiling is a fire break. It's made out of concrete. But if there's a hole in that fire break, then we've got oxygen. And the oxygen will now push the fire and the smoke further along through the building. So a fire that started here might end up over in the sixth form bar there. All right. Can be sure it's out, be safe. The fire service will make sure. Guys, fighting fires, it's not your business. We're a people-based organisation, right? Get yourself out. We can rebuild a building for 200, 300,000 or whatever, $1 million. We can't replace you. Some photographs. This one's chemistry, University of Bath. That was arson attack in their chemistry department. And last but not least, the fire exits in your building, where are they? All right, you need to know. Each building has a fire officer. Who is yours? Have you read the emergency grab sheet? Emergency grab sheet is at every doorway. And if there is a fire, which will come on in a minute, but if there is a fire, it has all the information from the air for you there to actually inform the police. Do you have specific arrangements for your buildings? So if you're a chemistry department or here in the dining hall, they'll have special arrangements. Extinguisher there assist, which we've already discussed. And be safe. If you see a fire, the fire service are the professionals, make sure they are called. Don't expect somebody else to have done it. 1 minute. So 30 seconds, the room's about 500 degrees. All right. Already melting the furniture. The fire retardant stuff that we've got in there. 45 seconds, the place where you will be now is on your hands and knees. Trying to get that last bit of oxygen that's in the room. 57 seconds. 1 minute. Right. What happens then if you manage to make it to the door and you open the door? What would happen? Backdraft, a good movie. Good movie, Backdraft. Have you seen Backdraft? Good one for the ladies. I think it's Kurt Russell, isn't it? Is it Kurt Russell? Really good. Good looking guy. So yeah, so he's in there, Backdraft. Open the door. What it is, you've put oxygen back into the room. So it's going to reignite that fire. So the asphyxiation that you've had and the lungs that you've been burning, you've been trying to take that in, once you've opened that door, you're going to get a nice little burn as well. So it is imperative that you get out of the building as quickly as you can. That's a minute, right? All right, it's a small room. Yeah, you're talking about a bedroom-sized room, but 1 minute. So to get people out of the building that you're in, so you've got 40, 50 people in there, 2 minutes is not a long time. Good. Remember I said, phone the fire service. This is the information that you've got on the grab sheet. The grab sheets are every single entrance point to your building, or should be. If they're not, your manager of the building needs to contact me and we'll produce more. But it basically gives you the address, the telephone number, directions, exact directions to your location, so you can just read it to them. Tells you where the first aid kits are, it tells you the exchanges, and tells you the security contact number as well. So it tells you all the information you know. Fire service come on here all the time. All right, so they know where to go. But be aware, if they don't, as a new crew, you might need to give them this information. So when you leave the building, you want to be taking that grab sheet with you. Along with that grab sheet, there's an asbestos register as well. They want that. And maybe if you're working in a certain department, there might even be a COSH register, which is basically hazardous materials. You might want to know that. Because when the fire service arrive, they want to know what's in the building so they can fight it effectively and quickly. So risk assessment is nothing more than a careful examination what in your workplace could cause harm to people, okay? So that you weigh up whether you've taken enough precautions to do or should you do more to prevent the harm happening, all right? So you need to know where your risk assessments are, you need to ask for them and you need to follow them and question them. So everybody will see at least one risk assessment. Of course, if you're working in an office, there'll be a department risk assessment. If you're working as a cleaner, there'll be loads of risk assessments. If you're working with estates, there's going to be tons as well. And this is what it is. I'll just let you read that actually. So, a hazard and a risk. All right. So all a hazard is, right, so if I had a lead, a trailing lead here, across here, that is effectively a trip hazard for me because I'm going to walk over it. So it's a trip hazard. All right. So if I walk over that once a day, the risk is pretty low, isn't it? Let's be honest. But if I'm traversing over that lead 300 times a day, the risk greatly increases. And then therefore you need to take into consideration, have you done enough to prevent that risk from occurring? Anything wrong with this working practice?
Yeah, he's quite high on that ladder.
Quite on a ladder, yeah. So he's basically, his waist is above the top of the ladder, yeah. I'll give you that one. Anything else?
One on the right is on different levels.
On different levels, good. Anything else?
And then blocking the road.
They haven't blocked the road, yeah. This is a car, the bonnet of a car, all right? What could they have done? What could they have done to prevent an accident occurring? That big red and white thing, yeah? We could have put that down for a start. At least it would have blocked the cars coming up, all right? However, yeah, you're right. Everything you said, the work practices aren't great, let's be honest. So they're working on ladders for more than 30 minutes. So working on ladders for more than 30 minutes, you want to be looking at a different platform. You want to be working off platforms, to be honest. Yeah, different levels. Most people say he's got a chainsaw in his hand. Suckily, it's not a chainsaw, it's just a hedge cutter. However, it can seriously do you some damage. So if he fell off that ladder, what injuries would he sustain? Possibly. What's the worst he could do? The worst?
Death.
Death. He could die, yeah. He could die. Why would he die? Head injury, yeah. But if he fell onto here, he could sustain some major injuries. At the least, he's going to get a lot of bruising, probably fractures. Working at height is anything above ground level. All right, so if you stand on that chair, you're working at height. So if you stand on a chair, you need to come see me. If you're doing something, working off the chair, right, you need to come see me and I will give you a working at height course to do first. Why do you think we have risk assessments in place? For you personally, think of you personally, why would you want a risk assessment in place? Your safety, yeah. And you want to come back from a day's work. He hasn't adhered to his risk assessment, right? No way. So how much money do you think you get paid if he breaks his back? If he's fallen off that ladder and he's not adhered to the risk assessment, he's not going to get hardly any cash, or he will get something, but not a lot. If he adhered to the risk assessment, would he get something? If he's done all the processes and something's happened, maybe it's an equipment failure, and the school can be held liable, yes, he would. There was a kid on a adventure training exercise. He'd gone to do a barbecue. They've done all their adventure training. They've gone to a barbecue. The person who'd done the risk assessment had given the risk assessment and that authority and delegated it to a junior member of staff. The junior member of staff was actually in charge. They were told not to go swimming in the lake, which they weren't. Junior member of staff is sat over 50, 60 metres away. But what they decided to do was jump into shallow water. So the first time this kid went in, jumped in, did a backflip, no issues. Second time, no issues. Third time, quadriplegic. All right, broke his neck. Would you think he should get money? Or do you think he shouldn't get money?
Who, the child? Or?
Child, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You think he should get money? Well, I'm just asking. Well, I just asked a question.
Staff member and
I don't want to put any doubt in your mind, but yeah.
No, I'm just trying to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's responsible?
The staff?
They both are really.
They both are. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. The staff are responsible, definitely responsible, because they're not supervising, right? And also, there's another risk that they've not looked at. So they looked at all the other risks, but then they thought, hold on, they shouldn't be doing that. That is a risk. I've got to step in and do something. They didn't do that. But the child himself is responsible also, because he did it the first time and he knew how shallow the water was. The second time he definitely knew, because he must have hurt himself the second time. And then the third time, unfortunately, the answer, you know, he's become a quadriplegic. It ended up £5 million they gave him. It would have been 10 million. All right, and that was in the school. All right. So this guy here, if he fell off, the £1 million that he would have got might only be 10,000. And the reason why he'd get 10,000, because there's a failure to manage. All right, so we're not managing it. The school are not managing this correctly because his manager's not come out and looked at his work processes. I just want you to find as many hazards as you possibly can. There's quite a few there. Everybody happy? Pens down. It's like a real test. Just shout out what you see. What? Hair straighteners? Yeah. I don't have any call for them anymore, but yeah, that's one of them. Laptop? Yeah. So what's the issues with both of these? Heat? Yeah. Next one?
The candle on the shelf.
Candle on the shelf, yeah. No naked flames in Millfield. So if you're into joss sticks and all that sort of stuff and you like candles in your office, sorry, you have to leave them for your home. Next one.
The sheet over the lamp.
Sheet over the lamp, yeah. It's some sort of face veil, I don't know. Don't know if everybody has them anymore, but face veils, yeah. So that's going to obviously get hot and might cause a fire. Any more?
Plant the back wall.
Plant the back wall, yeah. Fall from height, smash you on the head.
Exit's blocked.
Which one? Exit.
Door blocked. And there's clothes everywhere in the bag. And
Oh, you mean this? Yeah. All this, yeah. Bad housekeeping. So it's a trip hazard. Next.
Drawers are open.
Drawers are open, trip hazards, yeah. Another trip hazard. This one, what's that? It's a refrigerator, I don't know if you can see it. That's a really bad photo anyway. It's a refrigerator. Sometimes we have the children who they put the fridges into the actual, into the wardrobes and put the clothes on it. What's the issue there? What's a fridge need? Needs air to circulate, doesn't it? We need air. It needs constant airflow. So if you're sticking loads of clothes on top of it, it's going to prevent it from doing what it needs to do, cooling down. Because heat extracts at the back. That's how it produces the cold air inside. Yeah, that's a good one. Next, any more? What about this one? It's coming through the window, and that's why we've got restrictors on them. So all the accommodation have restrictors on, only up to 150 mil. And the reason is so they can't get out and nobody can get in. What's the issue with this though? With this lead and the pillow?
That lead to get hot.
Yeah. So we'll come on to electrical in a minute, but with the lead itself, what you have inside, you've got usually have three wires inside, right? And what happens is that's called insulation. And if you heat it, it gets cold, heat and get cold, it becomes brittle. And as it becomes brittle, right, it'll crumble, and then what you've got is metal touching metal. Then you'll have an electrical fire. So accidents and near misses. They are important. We need to report accidents by law, remember. And these are our accident statistics here for the campus. And what we've got, just talk about last reporting period, we had 31 accidents reported and 32 near misses reported. Right, so if you have a look at the graph itself, that's never happened before, right? So we're having more near misses reported now, which is great. Because that means one thing to me, the culture is changing in Millfield, right? Hopefully it happens the next month and the next month and the next month. But what we're saying is people are taking it seriously now because they've had a near miss and they want to report it. Because we report near misses because we don't want other people to have an accident or possibly have an accident. All right? Everybody understand what a near miss is? So if I've got a tray of drinks, and they almost slip, that's a near miss. All right? Or if somebody swings a door in my face, it almost hits me, that's a near miss. All right? An accident is something that actually causes physical harm. If you have an accident, report it to the line manager. You have an instant report form online, okay? If not, we have hard copies as well. And it's there to prevent the reoccurrence, improve overall awareness, and identifies trends and reduces the risk. That's why we report near misses and accidents. Anybody squeamish? If you are, I suggest you to look away. Right, he's dead. I think he's dead. Right, hopefully that's not going to happen here. But there are incidents like that in the UK. Somebody's just been fined, four individuals of a company have just gone to jail for 5 years because they've done excavation work and didn't shore it up properly and the guy died. So we're looking for a positive safety culture. That's what we're looking to get. So if we do have one, hopefully you'll get some job satisfaction. Mental and physical well-being amongst the staff. So that's what we want. We want people to come to work well, fit and healthy. Financially, from staff having less time off work, obviously that's good for us. Other financial benefits, increased contracts, well, not contracts for us, but the reputation will increase, and also that means more people want to come here, more students, and that effectively is more money. Also promote the culture of openness and the way a person operate. We want an open culture, so if you see somebody doing something wrong, don't be afraid to say something. That's why come and see me. Yeah, if you want to do it on the QT, that's fine. I'm prepared to go and fight that battle. So first aid. So we've got term time, we've got a medical centre and a campus first aid team. Ring 0 and they can put you through to the med centre if you want to. So first aid courses, which we've mentioned before, we have 212 people on here at first aid trained. All right, so if you're walking out there, you'll probably meet somebody who's a first aider. We have loads of first aid kits, green boxes, white cross, and they're everywhere. You should be able to see them in your departments. And the contents, we order the contents online. So whoever your first aider is, they will order the contents online. You might become one of the first aiders. And again, the emergency grab sheets. Okay. Defibrillators. We have 7 defibrillators. The ones in the senior school, as you can see, senior staff room. We have one in the senior swimming pool. We have a Mantel Pavilion, which is where they play the hockey. And we have one at Jubilee Sports Hall. All right. But that's only there, it's not available on Wednesdays and Saturdays because the rugby team take it with them. All right, so if you go there on a Wednesday and Saturday, there's not one there. Yeah, unfortunate. But there's one just up near the staff room. If you have an incident, I don't suggest you go running for it. I suggest you find the quickest person around you and send them for it and then get it back. If you have a defib, right, if you can get the defib to somebody within 4 minutes, they've got a 75% chance of survival.
You have just installed the 2010 guideline-compliant HeartSign Samaritan PAD. Now let's look at how to use one in a life-saving situation.
Are you all right?
Get the Samaritan PAD as quickly as possible.
Go call 911. Go get the AED.
Press the green On button. The device will automatically identify an adult or pediatric patient based on which pad pack has been inserted.
Adult patient, call for medical assistance.
Did you call 911?
Remove clothing from patient's chest to expose bare skin. Pull green tab to remove pads. Peel pads from liner. Apply pads to patient's bare chest, as shown in picture. Press pads firmly to patient's bare skin.
The Samaritan PAD automatically assesses the patient's heart rhythm.
Assessing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient. Stand clear of patient.
And recommends whether or not a shock should be delivered.
Shock advised. Stand clear of patient.
Everybody
Press the
clear?
orange shock button now. Shock delivered. Begin CPR. It is safe to touch the patient. Place overlapping hands in middle of chest. Press directly down on the chest. In time with metronome. Remain calm.
The combination of CPR and defibrillation is the best rescue technique you can practice until medical professionals arrive on the scene. Sometimes, no shock is needed in a life-saving situation, and the Samaritan PAD will tell you if that is the case in that instance. If CPR is needed, it's important to apply effective chest compressions for 2 minutes. The devices will provide CPR coaching on how to cross your hands, where to place them, and will include a metronome beat that will coach you on how many compressions to apply per minute. The 2010 AHA guidelines for CPR and ECC once again emphasize the need for high-quality CPR, including a compression rate of at least 100 beats per minute, a change from approximately 100 beats per minute, a compression depth of at least 2 inches or 5 centimeters in adults and children, and approximately 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters in infants.
Stop CPR. Assessing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient. Stand clear of patient. Shock advised. Stand clear of patient.
Everybody
Press the
clear?
orange shock button now. Shock delivered.
You're okay.
One note for rescuers: the Samaritan PAD can be used while in its protective case or out of it. After using the Samaritan PAD, contact your heart sign channel.
We do have pediatric pads as well, and they're in the majority of the defibs. Pediatric pads is for obviously children under 8. You can still use the adult pads on children, okay? Be aware that unfortunately some of us males are quite hairy. In there, a razor, sorry, to shave you, to shave the guys if you need to. The pads themselves, if you want any more training, that's just an intro really. Speak to your line manager, and what we can do, we can actually physically come round to you and give you training for your department. All you got to do is listen to it. It'll tell you exactly what to do. Turn it on, okay, and it talks you all the way through it. It's electrical safety. So we have a large number of electrical items damaged. We need to check the condition of the plug, the sockets, the cable items, damaged cracked wires, broken plugs, for instance, damaged cable. If it's out of order for a reason, and it's part of the fire strategy, the electrical equipment. No items from home, please. If you do, I'm just going to ask you to remove them, and no adapters. So if you want an adapter, come and see me. It's mainly for the children out there in the actual houses that applies to. A few bits and bobs there. Anybody shout out what's wrong with some of them? Which one? Which one you on about, this one? Oh, that one. Can you see that? So it's basically broken. There, that's broken. There's some tape on there. Seen the tape on that one? The issues with here, we've got some tape on this one. So we've got some electrical tape on it. What's under that? Can you tell me how that's fixed together? If you use it, nobody's got a clue. Right, so anything with tape on is out of action. We've got an estates department who will come and actually replace the lead for you. So if you need to put tape on it, indent, and we'll get it fixed. This one here, what's this? We should know what this is. What sort of cord is this? From what item? An iron. From an iron. What we've got here is that he's put elastic bands here. I think there's one over there. So what happens at that point? Remember what we said before? Heat. Yeah, so basically we're effectively making it really, really hot at that one point. And what we're doing again, break down of the insulation. Okay. This one here, this was actually used in when we took it out of action. So people are using that, or have it done in the past. And here we've got little nicks out of the actual cable. Okay. Some plugs. Any issues with these? I mean, let's have a look. Broken. Hopefully you wouldn't use that. Here, what you've got in all plugs is you've got a little thing, like a grommet inside the plug, where the wire should be attached to, and that bit there should not be showing. Because what happens there is the two leads are basically going to move. Eventually, they will come out of their housings and they will touch, and you'll get electrocuted. Or whoever's using it's getting electrocuted. This one, anybody see that? Can you see what that is? Foil, yeah. Everybody seen that before in their lives? Great, that is. It's brilliant. The fuse keeps blowing, so the smart kid as he was, he thought, oh, I'll do, stick some foil around it. So the current will still go across it. Worked a treat until the foil burnt out. Brown in here, yeah, brown in here. Anything that's brown is for a reason, it's overheating. All right, so don't use it. These are the adapters that I'm talking about. None of these adapters are used within the school. The kids bring them in because they're all from different countries, obviously. They bring these in and try to plug them into our own system. We don't use them, right? No adapters. The only ones that are allowed are through my office. We all use these, don't we? Chargers. Which one of these is actually made in China? Both are. Both are made in China, yeah. Which one's got a CE marking on? i.e., which one, the black one? Yeah, black one's got it, and so has this one. So effectively, what I'm trying to get to, laboured point, they're both legit. All right, they're both legitimate items. This one here, you can buy in Argos, or could buy in Argos. Right? So all that's happened here, the boy who was watching it burning away, he'd had it plugged in, and he's just watching it, that smoke coming out of it, and then decided to inform everybody else. And this was the end result. What happened here, CE marked, double insulated, you can use it. The problem is there was a faulty piece in there, So the manufacturers had to recall nearly 10,000 of these little babies and take it off the market. All right. This was taken out of the stables. Why would you use it? I mean, look at the state of this. It's been burnt for a start. Cuts in the actual cable. So it's obviously overheated. It's been split at some point. It's probably been crushed at some point as well. But they're still using that bit of equipment. Well, they're not anymore, but they were still using it. Right, be aware of that. The iron that you've got in front of you there. So this is in the Muse. Anybody from the Muse? No? So in turns we're using this. Well, not this one. They were using it looking like this. And then decided to plug it in and resulted of a little fire within their iron. All right, but if it gets to this stage, you've got to start thinking, is it all right? It hadn't been pat tested for a start, and it hadn't been visually checked. Adapters, this is what they try to get away with in the houses. Let's plug everything you can possibly get and stick it into one plug socket. Right, it's going to result in one thing, fire. The other bits and bobs you've got around here, you've got cut-off plugs. So I find quite a few of these around. This one was from St. Anne's, I think it was, this one. So all I do is cut the plug off, stick it in a drawer. No. Okay, I'll come on to that one in a minute. Got another one here. Remember the one I said about the teacher putting back in the piece of equipment? Because it was a part of a washing machine, he needed to get the kids' stuff washed. He decided to actually re-plug that in. Okay, good luck. So another one. This was in one of the houses, and what happened here was that she'd had an extension lead, right, coiled up. She hadn't extended it. Clue is extension lead, extend. And what happened is the heater that she was using obviously overheated the coil and burnt the extension lead. So the extension lead is now on fire. What she went to do, she went to pull this out. That's how far she got with it, because it had obviously welded in. She then turned it off here, which is great. The problem she did then, she decided to cut this off. All right, she turned it off at the, I'll give her a credit, she turned it off at the consumer unit. So basically she cut that off, and then basically what we had there is a call out to come and sort the whole issue out. Right. The main reason what happened was she used an extension lead, which was coiled up, overheated, produced this. She's lucky to be alive. Off-site procedures, none of you need to know about this, but just be aware that there are check forms, procedures and guidances and risk assessments. We need to do that if we're taking children off-site. Hazardous materials, almost near the end, guys. Right, so hazardous materials we've got, these are the ones that we have. Some that you might not think about are bodily fluids. That's a hazardous material to you, all right? Fumes, dust, vapours, mists, and chemicals, they're all hazardous. So one thing that you will come across, or might come across, is this stuff, asbestos. Okay, 3 forms of asbestos. Well, actually, there's more than 3. There's 6 forms of asbestos in Britain, but we only really deal with 3. This is the most common that you'll find. If you think of it as concrete asbestos, that's the easiest way to think of it. Christ tile. And what you're looking at here is you'll find it on your garden sheds. You might find it on your garden shed somewhere. But if you take it off intact, it's fine. It's an inert thing. You start smashing it up, that's when the fibres get released. You find this lagging in boiler rooms. There's no need for you to go in a boiler room. You shouldn't go in a boiler room. And if there's a fire within the boiler room, you phone the fire brigade. All right, so you shouldn't go in there. This stuff here, bitumen tiles, you'll find that on the bottom. So you might find asbestos, the tile might be a bit of asbestos. And the tile that you've got on there, or the bitumen in it, might have elements of asbestos in with it as well. But stuff that you might come across within your houses, if you've got a house older than 1999, is this stuff, Artex. Okay, so if you've got Artex in your house and you want to sand it down, I suggest you get an asbestos surveyor in, which doesn't cost a lot, to actually make sure that it's not asbestos before you start doing it. Because what happens is, once that asbestos gets in the air or lands places else, it's not just you and your health, it's everybody around you. So if you see any damage to walls with this sort of stuff in, or this, or that, you need to inform the health and safety department. We do a manual handling course, so if you're into manual handling, you'll get trained effectively. Okay. Mobile phones, not while you're driving, please. If you're going to do it, pull over. And you get, I think it's 6.5 now, and I don't know, £300, I don't know, quite expensive. So minibus, if you're going to drive a minibus, your own transport, just be aware, yeah. If you're driving a vehicle and it's unroadworthy, it's not going to come back to the school, it's going to come back to you, because you're the driver. The points are going to go on your licence, and you're going to get the fine, not Millfield. If you're going to go somewhere, make sure you have a visual inspection, plan the route, make sure you've got the seat belts, that's if you're taking kids, which I know none of you are. And well-being, right at the last bit. So well-being, there's loads of stuff you can do. You've got the swimming pool, you've got the golf club, so you can go and play golf if you want to, use those facilities. You've got the gym, and I believe there's some sort of, I think they're doing horse riding lessons as well now. So it's all there for you to do. You've got Pilates, yoga, you've got spinning, you also have circuits as well. So it's all there for you to do. It costs a little bit, you have to put a bit into it, but it's there provided. Any questions? Good. Tired? Long day? Well, it hasn't finished because you've still got to do the test.